many films, usually in the court scenes, we would have heard the terms like Indian Penal Code, Criminal Procedure Code, Civil Procedure Code, etc. In short, they are referred as IPC or CrPC, CPC, like that. So, what are these terms and what are their purposes? Let us try to understand them. For this, we have to understand what is criminal law and the classifications of criminal law. Before that, let us always bear in mind that criminal law is always of great significance. It is so because it is only criminal law which helps the state in the administration of criminal justice, which in turn is very much essential for the maintenance of peace and social security. So, we should never ever underestimate or ignore the necessity of criminal laws. Let us move to its classification. Criminal law can be classified into substantive law and procedural law. I repeat, criminal law can be classified into substantive law and procedural law. Substantive laws are those which provide definitions for various offences and also prescribes appropriate punishments for the respective offences. The Indian Penal Code is one of the classic examples of substantive law. The other examples can be given as the Drugs and Cosmetics Act and also the Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, etc. So, what do we find in these acts? As already told, we can find the definitions of various offences in these acts and also the punishments for those offences. For example, in the Indian Penal Code, that is in the IPC, we can find the definitions of various offences like murder, culpable homicide, theft, dacoity, robbery, and also some of the offences relating to marriages like bigamy, adultery, cruelty, etc. So, substantive laws like IPC provides the essential elements to constitute an offence, and by providing such elements, it defines the offences and also prescribes appropriate punishments. Now, let us move to the second classification of the criminal law, which is the procedural law. To understand simply, procedural law provides the mechanism for the enforcement of criminal laws. In other words, it prescribes the practices, procedures, and also the machineries which are required for the enforcement of criminal laws. Two classic examples of procedural laws are Criminal Procedure Code and Civil Procedure Code. So what they do? As said before, they try to prescribe the practices and procedures for the enforcement of criminal law. For example, in these codes, we can find how a petition should be filed and how the case is usually opened and how the charges are framed, how accused are examined, and what are the procedures for submitting an evidence, how arguments are done, and how an acquittal or conviction can be given, etc. The function of procedural law is only to prescribe the practices, procedures, and the machineries for the enforcement of criminal laws. So, if we want to understand how the court functions and how each case is, whether it is a civil one or criminal one, how each case proceeds, then we have to read the Criminal Procedure Code and Civil Procedure Code. As the name suggests, Criminal Procedure Code regulates the procedure in criminal courts, while Civil Procedure Code regulates the procedure in civil courts. Hence, while substantive law defines the offences and prescribes punishments for them, the procedural laws helps in implementing the rules of the substantive laws. To give a clear example, the Indian Penal Code defines what is murder and also prescribes punishment for committing a murder, while the Criminal Procedure Code helps in convicting a person who has committed a murder. Thanks a lot. We'll meet you again.